As Keanu Reeves stepped onto the quiet street, he noticed something unusual. A 15-year-old boy, bruised and battered, sitting alone on the cold pavement, tears streaming down his face. His hands were wrapped in blood-stained bandages, clutching a tattered toy as if it were his last source of comfort. People passed by, ignoring his pain, but Keanu couldn't. His heart clenched. Who had hurt this child, and why was no one helping him? Keanu Reeves had just finished a quiet evening walk when something stopped him in his tracks. Sitting on the cold pavement near a dimly lit alley was a 15-year-old boy, his face streaked with tears. His hands were wrapped in blood-stained bandages, his clothes torn and dirtied. He clutched a small, tattered toy against his chest, as if holding on to the only thing left in his world. People walked past, barely sparing the boy a glance. Some whispered, others avoided eye contact, but no one stopped. Keanu's heart clenched. This wasn't just a lost child. This was a boy in pain, abandoned by the world. He stepped closer, kneeling beside him. "Hey, kid, are you okay?" The boy flinched, his red, swollen eyes darting up at Keanu. He looked terrified, like a wounded animal expecting more harm. His lips trembled, but he said nothing. Keanu softened his voice. "It's okay. I won't hurt you. What happened?" The boy sniffled but still didn't respond. Keanu glanced around. The streets were dark, the air heavy with silence. Something wasn't right. Then he noticed it. Faint bruises around the boy's arms, as if someone had grabbed him too hard. His body was tense, like he was expecting someone to come back for him. Someone dangerous. Keanu's jaw clenched. Whoever did this, whoever left this child broken and crying, was still out there. And Keanu Reeves wasn't about to walk away, to be continued. Keanu took off his jacket and gently draped it over the boy's trembling shoulders. The child flinched at first but didn't resist. His small fingers gripped the fabric as if afraid it would disappear. "Do you have a name?" Keanu asked softly. Boy hesitated. His lips parted, but no words came out. He only shook his head. Keanu sighed, his heart aching. He could see it now. The fear in the boy's eyes wasn't just from pain. It was deeper. A fear of trusting. A fear of being hurt again. Then, Keanu noticed something else. The boy kept glancing over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear from the shadows. His body tensed at every passing car, his breath hitching. When footsteps echoed nearby, someone was looking for him. Keanu scanned the dark street, his instincts kicking in. Whoever had done this to the child might still be close, watching, waiting. "We need to get out of here," Keanu said, his voice firm but calm. "You're not safe." The boy's grip on the jacket tightened, his wide, tear-filled eyes locked onto Keanu's face, searching for something, maybe a sign that this wasn't another trick, another lie. Keanu stood and reached out his hand. "Trust me." For a moment, the boy didn't move. Then slowly, shakily, he placed his injured hand into Keanu's. Keanu gave it a reassuring squeeze, but just as they turned to leave, a car screeched to a halt nearby. The boy gasped, his entire body going stiff. Keanu turned sharply, his instincts screaming. A shadowed figure stepped out of the car, their eyes locked onto the child, and Keanu instantly knew. This was the person the boy was running from. The moment the car door slammed shut, the boy's grip on Keanu's hand tightened, his whole body shaking violently. Keanu could feel his pulse racing, fast, frantic, terrified. The shadowed figure took a step forward, their face hidden under the dim streetlights. "Come here, boy," the voice rasped, cold and threatening. The child whimpered, his breath coming in short gasps. He shrank behind Keanu, his fingers digging into the actor's arm. Keanu didn't move, standing firm like an unshakable wall, between the boy and his pursuer. "I don't know who you are," Keanu said, his voice calm but laced with warning. "But this kid isn't going anywhere with you." A low chuckle came from the figure. "You don't know what you're getting yourself into, Reeves." Keanu's eyes narrowed. Whoever this was, they knew him. And that meant one thing: this wasn't random. The figure took another step closer. Keanu could now see a twisted smirk on their scarred face. "This boy belongs to me. You don't want to play hero tonight." The child let out a choked sob, his grip on Keanu tightening even more. Keanu clenched his jaw. He wasn't a cop, wasn't a vigilante, but he wasn't about to hand over a terrified, injured child to someone who clearly meant harm. "If he belonged to you," Keanu said slowly, his voice cold, "then why is he terrified to go back?" The figure's smirk faded, their hands curled into fists. Keanu felt his muscles tense. He had seen this before. This was the kind of person who thrived on fear. Someone who thought they could take whatever they wanted. Not tonight. Last warning. "Reeves," the figure hissed. "Step aside." Keanu exhaled slowly, then squared his shoulders. "Come and make me." A tense silence hung in the air. The boy trembled behind Keanu, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The scar-faced man took another step forward, his eyes gleaming with something dark, something dangerous. Keanu's stance didn't falter. His fists remained loose, but his muscles were ready. He had been in enough fights on and off the screen to recognize when someone was about to make a move. The man smirked. "You think you can stop me, Reeves? You're just an actor." Keanu's expression remained unreadable. "Try me!" The man lunged. Keanu sidestepped just in time, grabbing the boy and pulling him back. The man swung wildly, but Keanu was faster. He blocked the hit with ease and countered with a sharp elbow to the ribs. The attacker stumbled, cursing. He hadn't expected Keanu to fight back, let alone be good at it. Keanu turned to the boy. "Run. Now." The boy hesitated, his tears streaked, face full of fear. "Go," Keanu urged. The boy finally obeyed, sprinting toward the nearest lit street. Keanu pivoted back to the man who was already recovering. His lips curled into a furious sneer. "You just made a big mistake," Keanu exhaled. "So did you." The man reached for something. Keanu saw the glint of metal. A knife. But before, the attacker could strike. Sirens blared in the distance. Flashing red and blue lights cut through the darkness. Someone had called the police. The man froze for a split second, then spat angrily. "This isn't over, Reeves." He bolted toward his car, tires screeching as he sped away into the night. Keanu's heart pounded. He turned in the direction the boy had run. He was gone. Keanu's stomach twisted. Where had he gone? Was he safe? As the police car rolled to a stop beside him, Keanu could only hope the boy had escaped to somewhere safe. But something told him. This wasn't the last time their paths would cross. Keanu stood still, watching the flashing police lights as the officers rushed to the scene. They began questioning him, but his mind was elsewhere. On the boy, the child he had just tried to protect. Where was he now? Was he hiding? Was he safe? "Mr. Reeves," an officer called, snapping him out of his thoughts. "Do you know where the child went?" Keanu shook his head. "I don't know. He ran off when the sirens came. I couldn't catch up." The officer frowned, glancing around the empty street. "We'll have to track him down. He could still be in danger." Keanu's gut twisted. Whoever that man was, he wouldn't stop. Not after this. He had seen the anger in his eyes. "Is there a way to track him down?" Keanu asked urgently. "We're putting out an APB," the officer replied, "but the kid could be anywhere." Keanu didn't wait for another word. He was already walking away, his mind set. He had made a promise to that boy, to keep him safe. As he walked down the dark streets, his thoughts kept drifting back to the boy's terrified face, the way he had clung to Keanu like a lifeline. He couldn't just leave him out there, alone and vulnerable. Keanu reached for his phone and dialed the number of a friend who worked in law enforcement. "Detective Thompson, I need your help," he said when the phone picked up. "Reeves? What's going on?" Thompson's voice was sharp. "I need to find a boy," Keanu replied. "He's in danger. Someone's after him, and I think he's still out there. Somewhere," Thompson sighed. "All right, give me the details. We'll track him down." Keanu rattled off everything he knew, from the man who had threatened him to the boy's injuries and his fearful reaction. He didn't know much, but it was enough to get started. Minutes felt like hours as Keanu walked through the quiet streets. Then, his phone buzzed. It was a text from Thompson. "Found him. He's at an abandoned house near the old warehouse district. You need to get there fast." Keanu's heart skipped a beat. The boy wasn't safe. And now, neither was Keanu. Keanu didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the abandoned warehouse district, his heart racing. The air was thick with tension as he rounded the corner, his mind focused on one thing: the boy. As he approached the dilapidated house, he could see shadows moving through the cracked windows. His instincts told him something was wrong, something was about to happen. He quickly ducked behind a rusted dumpster, peeking around to see what was going on. There, standing at the front door, was the man from earlier. The scarred face, the angry eyes. He was shouting something into the darkness. Keanu's pulse quickened. He could hear the boy crying from inside. Without thinking, Keanu moved swiftly, carefully sneaking through the back of the house. His mind was clear. He wasn't going to let the man hurt the boy again. He found a window slightly ajar and pushed it open. The sound of muffled sobs echoed in the dim room. There, in the far corner, the boy was huddled, still shaking. The man turned suddenly, his sharp eyes locking onto Keanu. He grinned. "You're too late. The boy's mine now." Keanu's jaw clenched. "Not if I can help it." Without another word, he lunged. The man reached for a knife, but Keanu was faster. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisting it until the knife fell. To the floor with a loud clatter, the boy gasped, his eyes wide with fear. "Stay down," Keanu whispered to him. "It's over." The man tried to push Keanu away, but Keanu used his weight to slam him into the wall, knocking the breath out of him. He quickly pinned the man down, his muscles locked in place, holding him there until the police arrived. Moments later, the sound of sirens filled the air. The officers rushed in, taking the man into custody. Keanu stood over him, his chest heaving with adrenaline. The boy stood up shakily, looking at Keanu with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. "Are you okay?" Keanu asked softly, stepping closer. The boy nodded, his lip trembling. I thought I was going to die." Keanu smiled gently, crouching down to his level. "Not while I'm around." The boy wiped his eyes, looking down at his hands. "What will happen to him?" he asked, his voice small. "He'll be locked up where he can't hurt anyone else," Keanu assured him. The boy nodded, his fear slowly starting to fade. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to breathe. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice full of sincerity. Keanu ruffled his hair with a warm smile. "You don't need to thank me. I just did what anyone would do." But as Keanu watched the boy walk away with the police officers, he knew that not everyone would have risked everything to protect him. And for the first time in a long time, Keanu felt like he had made a real difference. The boy was safe, and that was all that mattered.